am I going to go? So like I did a living will for myself and make sure like my kids were at least somewhat protected. As I eventually learned later on, studying my own financial literacy journey and gaining more insights that a living will is not enough. I got to go get a trust, which I still haven't done yet. So that's the next step for me. Um, but yeah, Dad was like, damn, Dad don't have a life insurance policy. Let me go get one for him because he's
Right.
not gonna leave me. And death is expensive, which is something that people don't talk about. And unfortunately, I had to use a life insurance policy uh, for my mom and also my ex-wife. That I divorced, she had passed away from 2016. So I had to use probably one of the best life decisions I made financially was getting a life insurance policy.
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Water podcast, where we help you build strong financial habits so that you have the confidence to talk about money, make money, and spend that money like you want. But today, I have the awesome opportunity to bring on somebody who has the top 10 social work podcasts across the world globally here. He has several books out there to help you cope with social work skills, especially in the Latinx community, and is constantly pushing the narrative in the financial realm as well. And I had to say that this guy is really taking social work to a whole new level. And I want to thank you for coming on so much, Bass. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure chatting with you before we even recorded. But I really want to hear your story and just learn a little bit more about you. So welcome to the show.
Yeah. So hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Basiliso. Full name is Basiliso. Everybody calls me Bass. Yes, like Bass Pro Shops, Bass like the fish, but with one S. Moreno. I'm a licensed master's level social worker in the state of Delaware. I'm also a certified financial social worker, helping Gen Xers like myself of color with financial education and financial doing one-on-one financial counseling, as well as I do workshops both in person and virtually through different organizations, talking about mental health, emotional health, and how it ties in with money. Um, yeah, and I'm also the host and producer of the Social Worker Rants podcast. It's heard every Friday, start 9 a.m. Wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm also on YouTube trying to get those subscribers up a little bit. So it's been a work in progress. So for any podcasters out there know exactly what I'm talking about. So good to be here.
Hey man, trust me, I know from podcast to podcast that this stuff is not easy, especially if you're the solo person. Like these systems gotta work.
For real, absolutely.
Yeah. In talking about systems, financial aspects have to have a system. And we all feel as though our finances are kind of escaping us in a sense, especially with the sandwich generation. We got to deal with the kids and also take care of the parents. What systems did you put in place to kind of help you when you're dealing with your parents?
Oh wow. Um it's still a work in progress. Um Initially I was caring for both my parents. Um so let me take it back. So I was married for 9 years after I got divorced. I'm originally from New York City, from the Bronx. I moved to Jersey. I got engaged, moved to Jersey, got married for 9 years, separated, got moved back to my parents. I had two kids at the time. They actually moved in with me. Uh, and then so now I'm caring for them, and now kind of like also took over. Like, all right, why are you paying, mom? Why are you paying the got a house phone a bill, and then you got cable bill? Why can't we put them together and call Cablevision and Optimum and just do one package, everything in one package, and it's bad enough. In New York City, like the light bill, like is always raising the price, so we're dealing with that,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like paying all these bills, and then like it's not, and then you're doing money orders. It's not even like automated. It's like so it was just a lot happening with the finances and stuff. Like, mom was really good with getting a life insurance policy for herself,
Mm-hmm.
one for me. And it's always like, why? She's always like, just in case. But there's a lot that even like goes into that, which I'll share in a bit. So, kind of like, they were still pretty independent in terms of doing stuff, going outside, going to doctor's appointments, and then I'm just as my kids got older, taking them to school and like having my parents helping me out, picking them up from school while I work and different things like that. So when my mom when COVID happened, my mom ended up having it and ended up passing away in
Mm-hmm.
2020 from as a result of COVID.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry about that.
yeah, thank you. So um, pretty much I realized like, oh snap, like dad never got a life insurance policy. Even before then, like I was even questioning like my own mortality. Am I gonna go? So like I did a living will for myself and make sure like my kids were at least somewhat protected. Has eventually learned later on, studying my own financial literacy journey and gaining more insights that a living will is not enough. I got to go get a trust, which I still haven't done yet. So that's the next step for me. Um, but yeah, Dan was like, damn, dad don't have a life insurance policy. Let me go get one for him because he's
Right.
not going to leave me. And death is expensive, which is something that, people don't talk about. And unfortunately, I had to use a life insurance policy uh, for my mom and also my ex-wife that I divorced. She had passed away from 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to use probably one of the best life decisions I made financially was getting a life insurance policy on her uh, during our marriage and because her health was deteriorating and it was to a point it was like a matter of time before she was going to pass away. So I was like, once I got that and did that, and usually there's like money left over after you paid the funeral expenses. So that was like my initial nest egg, and put that in a savings account. It wasn't a high yield savings account, which I
Hey.
should have did after after the
Hindsight
fact.
2020. Hindsight 2020.
Exactly, but I did the best I could when you have like literally like the mom of your kids and like you think that was the one, and then obviously life takes a turn, and still that's still the mom of your kids and your ex-wife, passing away, and having to tell your kids like, hey, like your mom passed, and they were very, very young too. My son was 7, and my
Mm-hmm.
daughter was 4 at the time. And Google's terrible to figure out ways to how to tell a 4-year-old
Right.
that your mom passed away. So it was a lot, and but it helped build me up, build, like the character. So when COVID happened, kind of like all right, kind of like think very quickly of what to do in terms of finances and getting that living will. Luckily, I had like a good friend of mine was like, yeah, I'll sign off. Uh, just get the paperwork together. I signed it off, and we met. She did that. Her and her husband signed off on that. So at least I had like some protection, and then
Mm-hmm.
working a 9 to 5 all, as well, and working with the seniors, also known as older adults, too, and having clients passing away as well. So I literally had clients passing away, like then my mom passed away. I'm usually um, I try to keep my work life and my personal life, separate. When I'm done, 5 o'clock, 4:30, when I'm done, like I'm done. I'm done. I, I like serious. Like I do not social work unless I'm do my social work podcast after hours. I don't do no social working. I was like there's no code of ethics. There's like
Right.
leave me the hell alone until like the next day. So, but my worlds came intertwined together, and unfortunately, and yeah, through all the trauma that I experienced, still, because even going into 2019, 2020, like my now wife, I got remarried uh, in
That's good.
2022.
Congrats.
Thank you. So we was like dating and like kind of like, all right, 2019, 2020, there was the beginning rumblings of this COVID thing. And my mom was in the nursing home for like literally like 7 months. Like she came home March, literally like 2 weeks before the world shut down. Um, so we were like, let's go get a house. We're gonna move out of New York, move to Delaware, and we'll look for a house and kind of start our life in a new state. And when COVID happened, it was like, are we gonna move or are we still gonna like what we're gonna do? And luckily, like we got blessing from like her older brother. Like, yeah, like come live with us. Like we got the space and like you have to come in person. There's only so much Zillow you could do look at houses and like you have to look at the house and go inside the house and there's only so much like virtual tours you could do and you got to touch the walls, you got to look at the paint and you got to like you know make sure you get what you need to live comfortably in a house, and you have to do that in person. So we moved, and glad we did it. It was like perfect, right place, right time. I guess we kind of had to go through the trauma because there was a light at the end of the tunnel, being how mortgage rates under 3, and I got my house at a 2.75, which it helped having good credit.
Nice.
And so and now like there's no way in hell I'm gonna refinance anytime soon. I was stuck with this house unless everything I've done since then, be able to try to monetize stuff that okay, maybe I'll eventually a few years down the line get another house or have my wife get a mortgage on in her name. And so um all that being said, it was like right place, right time, even from a social work perspective, like uh, I entered into like a grandfathering program to get my social work license. So there is a test that you have to take to pass to get licensed, and I totally avoided paying that racially profile test and just paid the fee. You can look it up. It's all the social workers know about that racially biased exam that we have to take to pass. But that's another story for another podcast.
Yes.
Um, but you can listen to the Social Work Man podcast. I could give you I gave you all the tea about that test. But anyway, so literally got grandfathered in, got licensed, paid the fee. So it was like everything kind of happened, right place, right time, right situation. With God's glory, that I just had to go through that huge rough patch and see that other side, and being a first time homeowner, then like and during that time, like with 2020 at the mom passed, like for some out of nowhere, I joke around and said there was the COVID antibodies because even though when I finally got tested, I tested negative, but I tested positive for like the antibodies. So at one point I had it.
Hmm.
Um, and like literally like these words started popping in my head, like must have been like either on the 1,001 Zoom calls that I was on during that time afterwards. I started like really picking up learning, like my financial literacy really picked up like towards the end of 2019, 2020. Obviously we were all in the home and like everybody kind of talking about financial literacy or at the same time from different
Mm.
different folks, and kind of like learning and kind of try to see what worked for me and kind of put stuff that I'm learning in practice. But these words like just popped in my head one time, like on the couch, and I'm like, snap, it rhymes. Okay. And end up being like a poem. Then like literally like another day will pop up or I'm in the shower and like I had to like take pen and pad to the bathroom like in case I wanted to shower. I had to like just stop what I'm doing and like write. If I don't write this down now, I'm not gonna remember these words, or it'll be the middle of the night and having these words pop in my head and like write it down in the dark. I figure it out in the morning what the hell I just wrote, but and then and so I had all these like series of poems. Just literally, I don't know. I'm not a poet by trade. Like I've done like some journaling, especially when I in my 20s or even like in grade school, like journaling class and stuff. I'm not a writer by any stretch of the imagination, unless I write whatever like I feel occasionally. And like I got these poems, like should I do an ebook? And then like I had a previous podcast host who was a best-selling author. He had this writing course, and like so I signed up for his writing course. I was like, "Well, I do an ebook. Maybe I could actually have it on paperback." And that's exactly what I did. So July 2022, I released a poetry book. It's literally 30 pages front and back. So if you never read a book and you like, I want to read a book, like this is one of my to-do lists. Like literally go get my book and you could like accomplish reading a book front and back. It's called Trying Through Pain: How to Maximize Your Full Potential in Hard Times. Is available in paperback and has this year, this past summer is also an audiobook as well. I'm still trying to
Nice.
figure out getting it on Audible, but if you like look it up on, it's definitely on Spotify, is on other major platforms. Just look for it. It was like a big for me to do in 2024 is finally get the audiobook done. And it's narrated by me, my own words written by me, spoken by me. Like I learned during my writing class how to do it, as an audiobook because I was asking around like how to do it because I was struggling for like a year straight on and off. I started, I stop it, like kind of like different ways, and I finally got it done. So yeah, that's a little bit in a nutshell for the ups and the downs and coming back up.
Yeah, because one of the things that is true about your story that I do appreciate is that you took time to really understand what is going on around you and then took action. I mean, obviously, you're going to have different emotions coming up, but you took time out to actually understand and recognize those emotions and putting pen to paper, literally, and getting that story out there because it could actually help out somebody else that's going through that same trauma or going through that situation. And when it was coming to a time to actually talk to the kids, I'm gonna get back to the money a little bit, but this is a tough conversation that some people just have to get ready to have as the sandwich generation
Mm.
as we get older. How did you like what was that conversation like explaining it to your kids under 10? Like what are some of the things that people should ask their kids or talk to their kids when they're getting ready for that tough conversation?
Oh man. So
Sorry to take you back.
no, no, yeah. So for me, just I kind of like a straight shooter. Like I try like yes, I have to like kind of make sure I put my social work hat and kind of be like figure out like age appropriate to say
Yeah.
and like not necessarily filter, but kind of like make sure that it's appropriate for them to understand. Um, so literally, July 20th, 2016. So I was working at a job. So this is probably like the best social work job I ever had. Literally was a hybrid model before hybrid became popular thanks to COVID. Um, So literally one day, up to the point like I was able to take like my kids to work if I needed to, or pick them up from school and then like come from the office, run to go get them to the other side of
Right.
town, and bring them back and finish off my day at work. Like the job was very flexible, supervisor very flexible, uh, just a great job like I had. So one day it was like the summer, it was summer break, obviously July, kids off school. Like, and I know how my parents are, they had a hard time handling both kids at the same
Right.
time. So let me take the oldest to work. So literally like 2 days before, um, and mind you, during this time, like 2015, 2016, I got divorced in 2015. So literally like my ex-wife's health, was a lot of it due to her own doing as well. So I already had this anxiety of like, I know the shoe's about to drop one of these days, and I'm gonna get the call that she passed away. So this was July 18th, Monday. I had just gotten home from work, and her brother calls me. My ex brother-in-law calls me, and he's like hysterical, crying on the phone. I was like, "Oh man, this is the call." It's like, "Oh, the doctor said that she has her name was Erica. So Erica has 24 to 48 hours left to live." I'm like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?"
Right.
So yeah, like, but he never, from what I remember, he didn't mention, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember him saying that she was in ICU. So I go to work the next day. Um, and I told the kids like, "Oh, look, my son, I'm like, she's doing that great." I kind of like left that. Um, So the next day I go to work, and then from the work I go straight to the hospital. I work in New York, work in the Bronx, and so I went all the way to Jersey where she was at. Go see her that she's in ICU. Got tubes kind of everywhere all over her face. It was like, it's not looking good at all. And I'm pretty much a realist, so I was like, hey, if she make it out to this, like this be like a beyond a miracle. Whatever that other word is like, you know, God is like literally looking down over her. So mind you, at the time, like I said before, I got a life insurance policy on her. So literally, like her mom is like grabbing her hand and like praying over her, and then like her dad was there and like whispered to her dad, Um, literally straight up, I told him like whispered, like, just in case she don't make it, I do have a life insurance policy, so the funeral cover, I'll be able to pay for the funeral. Um, and, he kind of nodded his head. I don't even remember what he did, but and then literally like the next day, so all this happened literally 72 hours. I go to work, take my son to work, and then it was like little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then her dad calls me telling me the news that she had passed away. So work at the time was like one of like the few places that didn't remind me of my previous relationship. So it was either that and the gym. So um because after I got divorced, I had to get sexy with it and get my Stella getting
Mhm.
groove back and
Right.
losing weight, and like
Right.
I gotta take selfies for the apps, and like
Hmm.
what all these apps, like dating apps, like I knew nothing, like to get back in the dating game, but that's like another story.
Oh,
Um,
like, we got to have you back on for the data scene.
so yeah, so literally I got this. So literally, worst case scenario, and in my head, my son was a big, loved his mom to death, and kind of like I always worried about him how he was going to react. So literally at work, I'm literally like my worst case scenario is coming true, and like hey, we got to go to the bathroom. Uh, Come with me to the bathroom. So we walk to the bathroom, and like I'm sitting like on the stall, on its like little toilet, so I could look at him like in his eye, and something to tell you, like your mom passed away, and like literally, like for me, I took it as like it was like a relief for him because like we
Hmm.
like would try to go visit her and like she also had like dealing with epileptic like seizures, but she didn't have epilepsy. Um, Between that, just a whole other like lot of health issues going on. So sometimes we would like go to Jersey and we would find out like she was like got to go to the ER. So like literally just like wasted money in a way, ended up being like wasted money going to Jersey from the Bronx and literally got to go back and drop them off like or go back home or things like that. So I took it as like relief for him that she doesn't have to suffer anymore. Um, that's how I took it. Like, we never stood to this day still like, how did you feel? Like when I told like he remembers that he told me recently, like, hey, I remember like we was in the bathroom when you told me and we used the bathroom that was meant for people in a wheelchair. Because I did have like coworkers who used wheelchairs. It was like a disability type agency that I worked for at the time. So he remembers like the details of the bathroom where I told him. So it was then I had to figure out like literally how to tell my 4 year old, and it's like I was literally Googling. Google was not helping at all. It's like, how do you tell a 4 year old like age appropriate, mind you, like if mine passed
Right.
away is like it kind of be like, oh, she's in the heavens, like flying, like the storks took her, like initially
Yeah.
how I told her like initially, and like weeks like I miss mommy, and kind of like all you do is really just hold her and kind of understand, like just be there for and hold her. Like I know you miss her, like obviously, of course you're gonna miss her. So literally that Sunday was the funeral. Well, literally, so Thursday we kind of like shop around,
Hmm.
go to different couple
Like funeral home stuff.
funeral
Yeah.
home stuff and do that and like told me the price. I was like, why is it so damn expensive?
What? What's the price? What are they giving you?
It was like almost $8,000.
Oof.
So
Okay.
like so literally like my last conversation with my ex-wife, she was like, I'm going like I have a bad toothache. I'm going to the emergency room. I think infected. I'm like, so she was kind of going in and out the hospital to a point where it was like, but I don't want to hear about it. You got to hospital anymore. It's just like, let me know when you're able to see the kids. Like it got to the point like that in our relationship. But I didn't realize that was going to be like our last ever, phone contact or any type of contact, whatever. So obviously that kind of guilt, initial guilt of that, and kind of like talking to her like that, um, happening. So there's a lot happening, and no, I did not take the kids to the funeral. I
Oh,
knew it was
okay.
going to be like a shit show for the last of them. And it kind of was. My ex mother in law like fading and kind of did a show a little bit, and
Mm.
it was just I'm a big wrestling fan, so like I kept looking back at the casket, and I thought she was gonna do like some Undertaker, like sitting up
Oh,
and
geez.
kind of thing. It was like you better say something nice about me.
Right.
It's when I spoke. So I joke about it, but when we think about money and things like that, and luckily I had the wherewithal to have a life insurance policy on her because I'm tired of seeing the GoFundMe pages and
Yes.
I don't no judgment, but judgment at the same time. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, but life insurance is not that expensive, and obviously get life insurance, especially when you're younger, and you can always do term and convert it into whole life, or just pay for a whole life. Just get something initially, and which leads to my mom when she passed, and like she was like, always stressing out paying like the bills, and like money was kind of tight, between rent, and I took over the cable bill and then make sure convert it into, so we all paid the phone and the cable was one bill. It's like I got it, I changed it to my name, so or her name anymore, and just kind of helped with the light bill, and I was paying for groceries and um things of that nature, day to day stuff that we need for the house, and like they didn't have to give me no money for the kids. Like I did their clothes shopping and food that they eat, whatever. So when she passed, it was like you busted your behind for like a $5,000 life insurance policy. I can't even use that to
Get the casket.
pay
Yeah.
for the casket. Like what the hell?
Right.
I'm like literally looking at the sky, like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, right?
Wow.
um, so that the life insurance policy she took on me, I canceled it because I realized that it was trash, especially as I started learning a little bit about life insurance more and try to get more bang for your buck. And so
So where did
I
you
like
go to where did you go to learn more about that though? Your life insurance.
just like different, podcasts I was listening to, and different like financial people that I was like sort of watching on Instagram and like YouTube stuff. And um yeah, that's like my initial. And then I started like buying, financial books and like Tony Robbins stuff, and then as more and more people started coming out with financial books, kind of getting. And like I said, I'm still learning about that stuff, kind of really get more bang for your buck in terms of a life insurance policy. Now that I got home, like I'm
Right.
sure that I'm still technically under insured, so make sure I pay for the house in case something God forbid happens. So it's like I said in the beginning, it's like a work in progress. Um, so yeah, so then that's when I realized, all right, I gotta get some sort of insurance for that, because like he's not leaving the earth and not paying. Then I gotta pay out of pocket for which using my nest egg and pay for his funeral expenses. Like no, I'm not doing that. um, so yeah, so what happened? You mentioned the funeral and the casket. So in New York, and again, this happened during COVID. So at least for me, I can only speak from my experience. I so she because she died of COVID, and COVID, you had to have the almost like the diagnosis. You got to have like the cause of death has COVID being on the death certificate.
Mm,
So because of that, she supposedly, from what I was told, had to be automatically cremated because they didn't know
gotcha.
whatever to transfer and whatever, and all the health workers in New York. New York was the epicenter of the pandemic at the time, and this is May 2020 for people listening. So
It's
literally, they
early
got to
on.
think
Yeah.
back early on, the beginning. We don't know what the heck was going on.
Mm.
And because so many people in New York City were dying, they had to transport my mom's body to Connecticut to have the cremation done.
Wow.
So it's basically paying for that and then having her cremated and then bring her back to New York. So I knew that, and which was kind of weird because when I went to go pick up the ashes, um, they were having funeral services at the funeral home that I was having. So it was like, okay, so like, again, not everybody situations, that not everybody was dying because of COVID.
Right, right.
So I was like, why are they having a couple funerals? So I was kind of like afraid of going in. Yes, I had my mask on. I went like anywhere. I had mask on. At times I was having gloves on, so I was kind of looking like Blue Man Group for a hot minute. A lot of the times, wearing a mask in my own house because I was afraid my dad's autoimmune compromised. So I was definitely afraid he was going to catch something. Um, Luckily, thank goodness, my now wife, she worked at a preschool. So they went full remote, and she was able to care for the kids while I was still had to go to the office initially, even for like because we weren't set up at all for remote. So I still had to go to the office, masked up, and do I need still doing home visits. You know, it became like emergency visits to see my older adult clients. So it was a lot happening all at once. So that's why it sounds like I'm kind of all over the place. Literally, things were happening daily, weekly as time went on. Even like try to like allow, couldn't really like allow myself to grieve. I did use my platform, my podcast. I did an episode like explaining how I felt after she passed. So my podcast became kind of like my own for my own mental health. Kind of like I need to pump out these episodes. And like I said, like earlier, like I was having all these ideas in my head. I literally tried whatever popped in my head. I was kind of doing, and I came up with a social work spotlight series. Like I need to know what is happening in the social work um, realm, boots on the ground that I'm not going to see on the news. I'm not going to see on MSNBC. I'm not going to see on CNN what is happening in my community. So I like started DMing other social workers that I started following or was following, like Michigan, California, like Florida. Like literally started having conversations that a dope social worker in Michigan, and like literally like when we started talking, it came on my podcast. Like the governor of Michigan had literally has just gone kidnapped in
What?
2020. So we were like talking about that. Like, is your governor all right? Like, what's going
Right.
on? And kind of go from there and building that network. And then I had my writing. My writing coaches on the podcast, and then I had like I actually had a Stanley Cup hockey player talking about mental health on the podcast, and kind of like started DMing people on. I started using LinkedIn more, like DMing people, like, hey, like I got this podcast, you want to come on talk about mental health, and so literally like things were like kind of like rolling along. Like COVID actually helped, like me being more consistent, releasing podcast episodes. I did like one, and then I went like almost a month with that one. Then I did another one, then like became like every 2 weeks. So like literally, like it was coming like fast and furious. Like giving resources about how to help social workers with COVID with their patients and their clients, and then it kind of began like growing even more. Just whatever idea popped in my head was like doing it at the same time. Like I was like writing what became my poetry book. And then like a year later, I had gotten an opportunity to be a co-author of a book series called Latinx Latina in Social Work. It was like volume one that came out and was received so well. So I got the opportunity to do volume two, and I was like, I wanted to share the story of the kids with their mom and what the little bit I went through in our relationship and like the end of the relationship and I wanted to get it out somehow, and like I wasn't
Hmm.
ready to necessarily go to therapy. I'm in the mental health space, but I wasn't ready to go
Right.
to therapy myself yet. Um, so like I straight up asked my kids like, hey, I had this idea, like I want to kind of share, just give like kind of tidbits of what happened. And like I eventually as they got older, I kind of gave like the cliff notes of how their mom passed away.
Yeah.
So they know it's because of her alcohol addiction, and like they knew like alcohol played a part of her passing away. So it's like, yeah, they gave me their blessing, and I wrote it, and it's like as soon as the book came out, like my daughter grabbed a copy and went right to my chapter and started reading it. And I was like, this girl gonna ask me some questions. So every once in a while, like it'd be at the worst time, but because she's the time aspect, time has a concept is not her strongest suit.
Yeah.
So she'll ask me questions in like the wrong setting, and it'll be something personal. Like I love to answer this question, but right now is not the right setting. We think about it again later on when we get back home or whatever. promise I'll answer that question for you. So the parenting always like will continue like for even like beyond after I'm passing away and kind of like just try to groom them and like for having their mom passing away so young,
Mm,
uh like and moving from New Jersey to New York and basically they're basically
back
New
and forth.
Yorkers,
Yeah.
even though like they were Jersey natives and living from New York for such a long period of time and then moving to Delaware, like all that came with it and pandemic, doing homeschooling, which was freaking torturous as a parent. Put your goddamn camera on. um, to everything, they're like well-adjusted, you know, good, human beings. They taught me more about resiliency than without even like having to really teach just their day to day, like just kids being kids, like watching YouTube, like and all the stupidness they watch on, on YouTube and talking to me about it, and like they're famous people on YouTube telling me about it. So now I kind of have to learn about it because now they're like in the pop culture and things that I watch in the sports realm and things like that. Like, oh, well, that's what that guy is. Oh, okay, whatever. So it's like I couldn't ask for better human beings as my kids, and now I'm giving myself. I finally did this year went to therapy, so finally giving myself
Good,
the
good.
grace and
Congrats.
giving myself the kudos. Like I did the best I could at the time, and kind of
Hmm.
like because I literally Thanksgiving last year was like I don't know something happened. Well, I finally got COVID after like almost 4 years,
Oh wow. Okay.
and it did something in my brain because like literally everything that came in my head came straight out of my mouth. So I literally talked my wife's ear off all of
Right.
Thanksgiving weekends, and to the point that she thought like, "Are you all right? You may have to go to the hospital or something. Like, what's going on
Wow.
with you?" And like, "No, I'm all right. You just have to be patient with me." And like, all right, at that point, I was like, "All right, 2024, I'm going to therapy. Like I gotta get
Yeah.
all this out." So I've been doing that. It's been wonders. Men, please go to therapy.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be okay, but go seek help. Especially people of color, period. But just
Yep.
because I know there's such a stigma that um, and I talk about in my podcasts all the
Mhm.
time. It's okay not to be okay, but get the help that you need. Is 988. You don't even have to use 911, but 988, 911. There's great people of color who are awesome therapists, and there's different. It's not what you see on TV about laying on the couch and talking your business off. Is so many different aspects. There's like ketamine therapy. Now there's so many different variations of therapy and stuff that you could do whatever you're comfortable with. But at least just start.
Yeah. And as we're coming up on the third segment here, and this is about you really. What skills or habits do you feel that's going to take you to the next level?
Um, just try to be consistent. Like a couple years ago, I finally hired a business coach because at a mix of 2020, like I'm still technically a licensed Zumba instructor. So at the time, I was trying to merge Zumba with like poetry, especially after I wrote my book. However, when you start a business, definitely do market research to see if
Yeah.
actually people are willing to buy product or service, and I did not do that. Even if I got caught up in the 2020 vibe of go get an LLC, especially when we got the first COVID checks. Go get an LLC with the COVID check. So I got an LLC in 2020. It kind of that was like the very beginnings, and like I did some classes online and didn't have had very few signups, and kind of like even like when stuff was happening, I'm giving proceeds out to whatever, like a natural disaster. I know I did a for when Hurricane Maria happened in Puerto Rico, like proceeds happened to this organization and still didn't have like a lot of signups. So like, all right, I'm gonna have to like pivot and change, like do a whole rebrand. So let me go get a business coach, and like I'm in this like learning about finances. Why can't I help my people out, especially I'm still in this the sandwich generation, still caring for my dad. My dad was still living in New York. Like he refused to come to Delaware to the point like he didn't have a choice.
Mhm.
Because in New York, and this comes to finances, so New York, as much as I couldn't stand the mayor and the governor, at the time was De Blasio and Governor Cuomo, who resigned. Um, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but I couldn't stand either one of them. Um, they did in New York City was they were helping out people paying their rent. Like if you were behind or you were like you knew you was going to be behind, or if you were already behind, they were helping pay for like up to like 3 or 4 months of rent. You would have to take, especially if someone had passed away from COVID, and you had to have the death certificate, and in the death certificate they had to have the word COVID as the cause of death. Like you would send the paperwork over to the city, and then they will cut a check, or give the check directly to the landlord, and your rent would be covered for up to like 3 or 4 months.
Oh, that's good.
So that's exactly what I did. I was um, so my dad was able to stay there. I was paying, so I had finally got my mortgage, got my house in February 2021. However, I was helping them pay with some of the rent. I don't think it covered the whole thing, but it covered most of the rent. So I had to like come up with the rest, plus pay my mortgage, and that really kind of like messed me up because I finally started investing in the stock market for the first time,
There you go. Okay.
2020. So and then I got a I set up some UGMA accounts for my kids. So I was learning all this and trying to put it into practice. And then like you messing me up because I gotta give you the money for rent that I could have used to put it in the market, especially when everything was tanking. So like
Yep.
getting Apple and getting Microsoft and like VOO and things like that
Mhm.
nature. So and to a point was like I have money up to this month. After this month, I can't give you no more money. Um, and that's basically what I did. Like, and I think he's going on about to be 3 years that he moved in with me, and like literally right before Thanksgiving 2022. Um, like that's it. Like we come we coming in. So literally, like that program, the city kind of went 2 months, couple of months without being used. Like whatever, like you need to come with me. I can't do the back and forth driving up to Delaware or taking the train or taking the Amtrak to come see you, make sure you're all right, and kind of like help you out with stuff. Like no, like you can come with me. There's space. I got space in the house. We figure out your medication situation. We figure out a program. So there, I did sign him up for a program where care. They have their own network of doctors. So he needed, a kidney doctor. He needed to see the
Oh
cardiologist. He
wow.
needs to get his blood work drawn like on a weekly basis. And I found a program down here that he can get all that stuff done, and is covered mostly by his Medicare, and he
That's
has
good.
managed Medicaid along with Medicare. So most of that, so it's like very little out of pocket expenses coming out of me as his caregiver for that. So it's called a PACE program. I forgot always forget the name of it. It's Persons for All Inclusive Care, something like that. I forgot the exact name for it. But if you look up PACE programs for the elderly, Google that up, and they're popping up a little bit, nationwide here and there. So there's a few of them in New York City where I'm from. There's one, at least one here in Delaware. There was a second one that was trying to open up. Um, so that can help. It's not the greatest in the world, but at least it was
It's
something.
something. Yeah.
Because all that, like I would have had to be like taking FMLA and be taking them to appointments and stuff like that, and then be like not working and kind of care for him, and that's a whole other story. Like unpaid caregiving. That's a huge thing, and I know Vice President Harris is trying to help that with, at least recently came out with a proposal to have Medicare pay for home care, services. So let's see if that happens. But yeah, caregiving, the struggle is real in caregiving, and caregiving for my mom. Literally, when she came home from the nursing home, she was pretty much bedbound. So I literally was changing diapers and wiping her, and it's like literally like the circle of life happening. And was sucked about it, for me personally, like physically, I had gotten injured playing pickup basketball. So
Oh no.
I had like a sprained ligament in one of my fingers that I couldn't like even like lift up my
Mm.
finger for like a few months. And then I had got diagnosed with two herniated discs in my back. So I literally changing the diapers and wiping. I was my back was on fire.
Right.
So I was like, but as parents, especially as kids, especially traditionally in Latino homes, we were taught for our parents and stuff like that. So like I would do it all over again to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And so she went to the I called 911. So like kind of like the 2 week, like, so basically she lasted a month in the house after being in the nursing home for so many months. So this was April. World already shut down. COVID is running rampant all over the place. Um, I'm working from home. Finally got to work from home. And then I want to get something to drink. So then I hear mom coughing. She's taking her meds and on Gatorade, like she's choking on Gatorade. Like, the heck is wrong with you? Like
Mm.
choking on some Gatorade.
Right.
To the point like it got really bad that her face turned red. I was like, do I need to call like
Mm.
her PCP? That's not gonna work. Like maybe just call 911.
Mm.
So of course in New York, call 911, like literally in the hallway, the EMS came and then basically kind of said my goodbyes, thinking I'm not going to see her again. Um, so by the grace of God, who I can't remember this doctor's name. So that weekend, I actually have a conversation with her. The doctor, God, God bless his doctor, used WhatsApp to call me while I was in the hospital. So I
Good.
was able to have a conversation with her. It's like, and she's was alert oriented enough to know she was in the hospital. Like she was asking me to come visit her. Like, I can't see you. Like we can't see patients who were COVID in the hospital as much as I kind of want to and did not want
Yeah.
to, because I got to think about me and the kids. Um, and then to the point I told the doctor. So she came home. She spent a week in the hospital, came home, and like literally like no facial expression, flat affect, as we call it in social work. Like I could see the moment she came out of the ambulance, I noticed a difference right away. Like, what's wrong with you? She couldn't really speak. She just wanted, all she could say was water. Like like
Mm.
she wanted water. They gave her some water. Like literally, she and still technically still had COVID. So it was like now I got a COVID patient with my mom in the house with an autoimmune compromised dad in the house, a 1 bedroom apartment. You got to cut through where he sleeps at to go to the living room. Is There's no covering, so
Mm.
any
Yeah,
air
I
that
know
she's
that.
breathing, we're sharing the air. I would worry about that. His doctors are calling me like call now when we never had conversations before. You worried about him like trying to say he can't stay in the house. He has to like I have no other family that he could go to. So if he's going to catch it, he's going to catch it, or we deal with it. Um, so damn doctors. At least my dad's doctors.
Might be
Um,
your next profession.
so yeah, so it's like all that's happening. Like the more, but I'm gonna call now. She's gonna go back to the hospital the next day. Let her like chill in the house, and we follow up the next morning. So literally, like, still, she couldn't really talk anything. I'm like, this is this is not right. Something off. Like COVID did something that affected her mentally, something, and the doctors couldn't figure it out. They were like, I was telling the doctor, I literally had a conversation with her Friday, Saturday. Like one of your doctors was WhatsApp
Static.
to call me. I had a conversation with her. She was alert, oriented, a little confused, but she was. We had a whole conversation. He couldn't figure out. I had to tell him like, if she were to come home again, I can't physically care for her. She needs to go to a nursing home long term. So we was able to work it out and find a home literally not far from me at home at all, like maybe like a half hour walking distance. Like I could take a one bus and just go up there or just walk. I did the walk like a million times as a kid going to school. So like she so as they say, so close yet so far. And in New York City, you couldn't still visit patients in a nursing home either. So it's like literally I could walk to you, but I can't see you. And
Mm,
so literally like her body starts shutting down. I got a call Saturday, like her body's like literally kind of shutting down. We monitoring her. And then Sunday, May 3rd, 2020, I get 5 o'clock in the morning, get the call that she had passed away. And I didn't sleep till like past midnight Monday morning. Was like I need to go to bed. I've
mm,
been up like the whole time. Like I had to tell my dad, I had to tell like her sisters. One sister living in the Bronx, to her, to her cousin that was like her sister, her two sisters in Puerto Rico, like a couple friends that mom had. Mom had a few friends, like she didn't like to go out unless it was doctor's appointments or the supermarket. So like when they called, like, hey, they want to talk to her because they didn't know, like, hey, by the way, like mom passed. So it was like um initially like my girlfriend was not my wife. Like I was staying in her house when I got the calls because on the weekends I would go and stay with the kids and stay with her.
right.
Um, so literally like she was right there with me when I got the call and like was still up. And when the kids woke up, like, hey, your grandma passed away. Just all we could do is just hug them, and like it was a lot like that day, and was able to come home like telling my dad like, hey, they called me from the nursing home. Mom passed away. It was like kind of like still kind of like deal with it. Like so, I try to set some boundaries for myself. And then I tell my wife this all the time. Like I can't do my grief and his grief at the same time. Like
Yeah.
I can only do me and for my own sanity and for my own mental health. Like I do what I can for him. Um, but when you have a parent who's basically still living, but is basically a broken, kind of like broken spirit, because even like 6 months before that, like his only brother had passed away too. So it was like
Oh,
literally he
jeez. Yeah.
having back to back, you know, deaths. And so to him, he's ready. For him, he always says he's ready to go. Maybe this is a Latino old school thing. Like, yo quiero morir. Yeah, like, I hear it like all the time. It's to a point it's annoying and frustrating at the same time too. But that's the reality of myself in the sandwich generation. Kind of hear that and kind of like give them that listening ear, as use my social work skills, or to a point where like, all right, you said the same thing 2 times and then you're about to say it again the third time. All right, let me go. Like, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to walk
Gotta
away from
take
the
that break.
situation.
Yeah.
So it's like, doing that, and he's old, the old school mentality. It was like, I don't want a therapist. We talk about seeing a counselor all the time, and it's being offered for him at the program that he's in, and it's like, nope, I'm not doing that. If I want to say something, I tell my son, and me, I'm like, you ain't gonna you can
like,
tell me only so much. That's it.
like I only
Uh,
could take but so much.
yeah, so it's like dealing with that. And so when it comes to estate planning, as we talk about, finances, So he said, like, I'm done, just like cremate me, and like that you do whatever you want with me. So for him is very simple. Whether he might change his his mind about that, then he has to let me know. I mean, I'm not gonna bring it up. Like that's what you want to do. It's simple.
So yeah.
Like when I buried finally, it took me 2.5 years to finally bury my mom's ashes.
Mm.
I wanted like when I talked about moving to Delaware, like when I talked to her about it, you come and live with me. We'll figure out, make sure when we get a house that you have a space for you, that whatever for your own personal room, whatever. Um, that didn't materialize, but she's here in spirit. Finally, like had buried her ashes. They gave me so they gave me a string bag with a box and
Yeah, with the
the
box. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
with the
Yeah.
box. So it's like you get like these people actually gave me like a string book bag with the ashes in there, and like I remember it clearly. Like we like so it wasn't the funeral home wasn't far from where she stayed at all those months in the nursing home trying to because she broke her ankle in both places in two
Mm.
places like it was like her left ankle I don't remember and she had a history of falls had like vertigo and stuff like that so like she was prone to falls and a fall that she had before that like months ago like she had like 7 staples in her head I was like the next fall you're gonna have is really gonna be bad and unfortunately I was right and spent all that time in the nursing home, spent her birthday in the nursing home, spent my
Mm.
birthday in the nursing home, spent Thanksgiving, Christmas in the nursing home. And then, like, the new year came in, 2020, and then COVID started in. And it was like I said earlier, the came home right before the shutdown happened, which I'm glad it did because at least I got
To
to
stay home.
care for
Yeah.
her for even it was a month and like you know it what happened happened so at least I got that month with her that she came home um and I was complaining the whole time because I was working and then so I come home and change diapers and we made it work my dad and I got God bless her like we made it work for that month but I'll say like when the time comes my dad passes like that when I took my mom's ashes and they were like, oh, there's space here that you can have more than one person. If you want to, you obviously just got to pay a little extra for it, but there's space. So like
That's
the
good.
plan is that when that happens, do call you up, do the ashes, and my parents will be together in the ditch in the cemetery. So sometimes I think he's going to outlive me. So that's why I need to
Right.
get
You
that
gotta get
trust
that.
going because he got more lives than the cat, and
Right.
to the point like we had like COVID pretty much at the same time period
Hmm.
too. So it was like literally when people say F COVID, like I'm like a living testament, like really like I have like the respect for it because of the unknown and everything that's happened to different people with different situations, but like literally like COVID at the same time because like when I had it, I was like it was just like kind of like brought me back to 2020. Like damn, like I got it. I was like my
How
mind
bad you
started
were.
like messing with me and I wasn't like so bad. Like, I definitely felt like going up the stairs like I had to like really take some breaths and didn't help that like I still got the COVID rate weight from 2020 didn't help I got married so now I got the love pounds with the COVID pounds together and gained all this weight but going up the stairs um I definitely like felt like out of breath and like had like a sore throat little bit. I sound extra sexy actually when I have a sore throat. I could hit the baritone and stuff. I had the
Oh,
deep
okay. You got the
voice and
Barry White
stuff,
going
the
on.
Barry White going on. So I was like, so like, so I told my wife, when it's when I get through with this, like, if I still got the voice, you're in trouble. So I actually did a couple podcast episodes, passed up. So like, if you go on my YouTube, you can actually see me with the mask. I did a couple of episodes while having COVID. Like I had to like just for my own mental sanity. I still had to like release episodes. I think I had a came away like you're gonna see me with a mask. I got COVID, but I still want to do the episodes. So may sound a little hoarse, whatever, but I still want to get it going. So I did that. So like I said, like my podcast has been a big part of my own mental sanity these last 4 years while helping other social workers, both seasons, so the new MSW students that continue to come in into our profession and learn new skills in different ways that we're not just child welfare workers. We could do so many things with our profession, like try to monetize social work podcasts or write a book, write multiple books, or do speaking engagements by trying to get into more speaking engagements. Recently, I've done speaking engagements. I was in Dallas, like in 2023. I was in Atlanta earlier this year doing a presentation. I've done when the book social work Latinx social work book came out. I did a presentation talking about my chapter a little bit, and so yes, I'm just trying to monetize all these skills that I built and figure out the best way to try to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things about your story is that you have so many elements to deep dive into. So I mean, speaking on it from experience and really sharing your story, like again, I just want to commend you on not just letting the grief overwhelm you to the point where you're just kind of in a hole and just by yourself and just like cutting yourself off from the world. It seems like you did the complete opposite, which is you opened yourself up to the world and really share your knowledge, share your experience, and really leaning into the social work community on the power that you guys do for the community. Um, but with that being said, you ready for the final four questions?
Yes.
All righty. So, number one, what does wealth mean to you?
Man, having the time, and I realize it more now, like having the time to do what you want to do, whatever
Okay.
that means for you, whatever you want to do, um, would be work wise, just being at home more, whatever. Like I would love to be be at home more and kind of do things that I want to do even more, and that's a goal for me. But definitely having the time to do what you want to do.
All right. Number two, what was your worst money mistake?
There's quite a few. I mean, I try not to make that many mistakes now,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we still in inflation. Um, so I try. Obviously, like I'm not that great organized. I improve my organization, but definitely like I like missed payments on credit cards, or definitely I want to say probably like I got caught up in getting like business credit
Mm-hmm.
that even my business, despite not having a real solid product or service, I have a product or service now, but like 2020, these cards and kind of using them. I still use like my podcast is now the name is trademarked, so I paid for that. I paid for my writing class, which is why I got the book, and kind of like pay for other things or going out when I went to like fast and use business credit to go to conferences and things like that. Like use it for business purposes. But now it's like I'm trying to get customers now with my business now, and like I have to use my personal money to pay for for business credit stuff. And it's like that money could be used to like stock market or kind of like save, like think about college or kids, and kind of like use the money for other things. So I'd say probably that would be like the biggest thing right now because it's really kicking me in the butt a little bit. I'm managing it, but like I'm like it's kicking me in the butt.
Yeah, it happens. Number three, what is your favorite financial or non financial book?
Ooh, non-financial book. Um, Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama.
Mm, okay.
Um, Financial book. Um, wow, that's good. That's a good question. I loved Yaneli Espinal's book that she came out with, and I actually had her on my podcast. It was so down to earth, like literally, it was like how she wrote the book is how I speak, and kind of like her different scenarios is like, yeah, I literally experienced that. Uh, gone to my mom to the social service office is known at the time in the 80s, 90s as a face-to-face appointment. So I know I'm old enough to know the words face-to-face. Um, so just real and be able to put myself in those shoes. Like if I wrote it, that was me, and like it, and it was great having her on the podcast talk about the book too. So I will say that I'm now started reading Giovanna Gonzalez's book, The Cultura. I can't. So I'm starting to read her book. I forgot the name of the title, but um, definitely like has Latinos and culture plays a big part in our finances, and I was definitely drawn. I'm drawn to that, so I'm looking forward to reading that book as well.
Yeah, Yaneli's book is that's on my list to read for later in October, probably beginning of November. Awesome person. I met her several times. She's really cool. All right. Number four. What is your favorite dish to make?
Now, I got this Instagram recipe about honey glazed salmon. So
Mm,
ever since I started, I was like, I could do this, and I like eating salmon. So just put it in the air fryer. It came out nice and crispy. They use like uh, some like a little bit cinnamon, like cumin, pepper, obviously honey. You just like literally like take a brush, glaze over both the front piece and the skin piece, and put it together. And I think I'm missing an ingredient. But yeah, been making that. I haven't made a baked chicken in a while, but that was like my staple for a long time. Just take some like 3/4 pieces of chicken and like and just put it in the season it real well and like put it in the oven. And people like my baked chicken to the point my wife was like, "When you gonna make that? You haven't made that in a while."
it might be a time you might need to make
So,
it. Awesome. And this is going to be the very last question of the show, which is where could people find out more about you?
yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Bass Moreno Consulting. That's all one word. My podcast has its own IG page, the Social Work Rants Podcast. That's all one word. My website is bassmorenoconsulting.com. I'm looking for clients. So if you're in that sandwich generation, caring for kids, and an elderly parent at the same time, I'm looking for you. I'm offering a free 25-minute consultation to how money and mental health, emotional aspects affect your wealth and money, and talk about what are you currently struggling with right now. What's like your number one thing you want to like achieve, and kind of work is on finding ways to solve that problem for you. So bashmarinoconsulting.com. And again, I'm on LinkedIn. You just type in my full name, Basiliso Moreno. Yeah, there's different ways to contact me.
Awesome. Man, Bass, it's been an amazing time. And thank you so much for pouring your all into this episode, because this is something that, is still a touchy topic, not just for you, but so many people who have experienced loss, especially when you're trying your best to even take care of yourself. And the sandwich generation is just something that we all have to really take a deep dive in, take a look into what our personal finances are and how that we can actually support our parents during this time frame, support our kids, and emotionally support ourselves. All right, Bass. Well, thank you so much again. Y'all have a good one, and thank you. Take care.